For those of you who don't know, and thank you so much for reposting the clip. Obviously, it boosted our campaign considerably. A lot of others.
I mean, it performed better than my comedy videos for sure.
All right, so you could take credit. I'll give you that. That's good. But this is how you obviously, I believe, found Jen, and of course, this has been taking off considerably. I think it's gotten on some eyes of some bigger platforms than ours that now want to talk to you. So hey, listen, you have a lot to do with this. We really appreciate it. But for those of you who haven't seen yet, Jen's official campaign ad, here we go. And
oh, you're going to play it now?
Yes,
okay. Okay.
This is me at 16 years old in Israel on a high school trip holding an assault rifle. And this is the definition of indoctrination. I grew up in North Miami Beach. I grew up in a very insulated, very Jewish community. We were taught that Palestine and Palestinians, that's not a real thing, that was made up by Arabs. Everybody over there that wasn't Jewish was just Arabs. But the message was always clear that Jews were not safe and that the Arabs wanted to hurt us. My relatives, my great-grandmother, my grandmother were raised with this fear mentality that without the state of Israel, Jews around the world will not be safe. True history was kept from us. We were propagandized. But as I grew older, I began to see a different reality unfolding. I witnessed the rise of the Israeli lobby, exerting its influence on our politics and policies. I learned about the injustices happening thousands of miles away in the name of Jewish people. And I can't stay silent in the face of such injustice. The right to return denied to so many Palestinians. The war fueled by the Israeli government and sanctioned by our own country. Condemned by the UN and the International Court of Justice as genocide. We cannot turn a blind eye to this injustice any longer. To me, atonement is really taking accountability for your participation in something that you now realize was not correct in some way and wronged people in some way. I participated in an ethnic cleansing state. I do not feel powerless, I feel hopeful. It is time for us to use our voices, to stand in solidarity with the oppressed, to demand accountability from our leaders. As a candidate, as a mother, as an ally, I pledge to fight for justice and equity for everyone, here at home and abroad, for there can be no peace without true justice. I'm Jen Perelman. I'm running for Congress, Florida's 25th district.
All I see is a hot, sweaty mess at the end of that video.
I know. I'm like kind of emotional still. Like I just really, I've just never seen it done like that in a campaign ad. And honestly, like haven't had a lot of good things to say about Meta and all of the silencing, but it fed your ad to like right to me. And I was because of the silencing, I was so nervous. I've been so nervous to like lose my account for some reason, you know, and I didn't, one of the dumb reasons, which I've been flagged for is like, is this an ad? And things that are not ads. And so yeah. I didn't even like really tag you or anything. Cause I was like, I just want to share this without it being flagged as anything. And it resonated so much with people in my feed. And anyway, it was really, really, really powerful. And I think, you know, many people wanting to move to Florida just to vote for you.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's amazing. You know, which is a good thing to know, because one of the things we talk about the incumbent, about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, other than the policy and the issues, is that she's been bad for the party in terms of like causing so many people to leave the party and certainly not inspiring people to register as Democrats. So the idea right. that I would actually inspire people to come here and vote is like, that's just good to know.
I mean, I really hope, I think you have a great chance. I read that, you know, that this isn't the first time that you run, and that you ran during the pandemic for the first time and had still like a pretty sizable percentage. So I hope that people, because I understand that like people are reluctant to turn out in terms of the presidential choices at the moment.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think it's important that people turn out to vote down the ballot, right? I think there's a lot of other, I say all this as someone who is a green card holder and can't vote, but there's a lot of things I've learned. I wasn't able to work at the polls and
Oh, wow.
or even vote, like you can't vote for the mayor in New York, like unless you are a citizen. So sometimes, but at the same time, I can still talk.
But let's talk about that for a second, because let's all think about that for a second. So you can't even be a poll watcher because you're Canadian, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
However, Israel can buy Congress.
Oh yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
let's think about the irony of that. Yeah.
Well, they put in a lot of money, and our current representative is somebody who not only takes that money hand over fist, but has a very cordial relationship, to put it very gently, with Bibi Netanyahu, which is a huge problem. And so, I mean, this isn't really something that I can answer. I think you two would probably answer it a lot better, but having come from that type of a background and seeing the backlash that's happening, it is very tough to break away from this Zionism that we see. But at the same time, I think they have to have a clue that the way that they're reacting, which is extremely vitriolic and angry, and to me, if you were actually right on your issue, your principle, then you wouldn't have to act that way. It'd be very easy for people to find your side and say, okay, makes total sense. But in this case, it seems to me that this issue runs very deep for a lot of people, because they're almost afraid to know what the truth is, and the truth is not what they're going to like. In fact, it's probably going to be the complete opposite of what they've always been taught. How do you see it as of right now?
So I think that this moment has been, very illuminating. It's exposed certainly the U.S. In ways that I didn't imagine. As someone I've been pretty vocal about this at least for 10 years, and the process started before that, but let's say vocal on social media for at least 10 years. And so things with Israel don't really surprise me. I understand why Israel's been trending in this direction, because when there's no accountability, when it's only impunity, when your state is the manifestation of an ideology that is based on white supremacy or Jewish supremacy, whatever you want to call it, it's only going to become more extreme. And the people that are invested in it are going to have to defend more and more extreme things as they, if they want to remain in this world. I mean, it's very hard for me to understand, because I don't have, let's say, like MAGA people in my world, in my family. But I do, mostly everybody is a Zionist. And it's so hard for me to hear them to say things like, well, what does Donald Trump have to do for these people to realize, to stop supporting him? They're literally saying this. And I'm like, do you not hear how it's exactly the same thing with Israel? But the cognitive dissonance, I mean, really, the only way that I can think about it is as a cult, because
that's what I say. That's exactly what I say. It's a cult.
Because these people that I know don't hold they wouldn't hold these positions if it was not a Jewish state. And if they hadn't learned this so young, not just, the absence of Palestinians as a people on the land, not just only if they are mentioned that they are an existential threat, but the fear around the need for a Jewish state, that is something, before comedy, I worked as a war crimes lawyer in The Hague at the Tribunal for the Former Yugoslavia. Ooh. And so I used to be a lawyer, and I went into that because as a kid, I was very, I was taught about the Holocaust, and I was a very sensitive kid and someone who was very, especially when I was younger, I paid a lot of attention in class, whether it was the little bit of after school Jewish education I had. I very much absorbed these lessons. And so I was correspondingly always upset about the Holocaust. As a kid, always worried that I didn't go to Jewish school. So I was always prepared for the Nazis to walk in at any moment and be given up. This was because everyone was there were like 3 Jewish kids in my class. I didn't do like a lot of what you did, Jen. But
Right.
what I had was, like a couple days after school for a few years. And then just like the reinforcement of the 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. news that was otherwise available to everybody in the West.
Right.
And so, I think that when it's hard for me, it's hard because I don't know how to explain it. Like, in a way, what's been so disappointing is like my family, we had a Palestinian person there,
Yes.
and no one ever expressed any openness or willingness to learn from her or from me, right? And over a very long period of time, and as things got clearly more and more right-wing in Israel, they didn't want to know, and they felt that they were doing something generous and progressive by including us, by tolerating us, and by agreeing just not to talk about it.